I'm opening. We have an eye, sort of a nostril, 2 teeth. One of the teeth has a small cavity. Close call, folks, but I think we got here just in time.
Presented by Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro. This is Anatomy of a Movie. In-depth discussions and breakdowns of various movie titles. And now that you've seen the movie, let the dissection begin.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for another Anatomy of a Movie. This week's dissection, Gone Girl, directed by David Fincher. His latest book adaptation, written by Gillian Flynn, who also wrote the screenplay. I'm John Comerford, joined in the studio by Roxy Striar, rocking out Roxy.
Oh, I love this song.
But you know what this song needs?
What's that?
More cowbell.
Thank you very much, Demetri Panos. Sorry.
Hello,
all right,
movie fans.
All right, let's jump right
John,
in.
how are you?
I'm doing well, very well. Let's jump right in. What do we think, Gone Girl?
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. There was just one particular aspect of it that I didn't love, but other than that, I was all in.
Almost a perfect movie for you.
Almost a perfect movie.
Very nice. So you're probably agreeing with the critics as well. So it's 8.7, 9, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Demetri?
I was a really big fan of this movie. Right now, it probably lands somewhere in my top 10 for this year.
Wow.
I don't know exactly where. I'm still like right now. I'm playing around. There's still a ton of great movies to view.
And there's a lot for it to sit with you. You know, it's a big movie.
And but I'm a big David Fincher fan. I think this was a great. I read the book, and I really think this is a great adaptation. One of the best. I really think that from page to screen.
Right.
Gillian Flynn and probably David Fincher, there was probably some help there. I think they really captured everything that was in the book, and they did it like there wasn't a thing where I said, "Oh, God damn it, they changed that," or you know. And
you felt like they were honest to the words.
Yeah, and well, even more important. Go ahead.
No, I'm just really glad that one of us on the panel has read the book. So, Demetri, we're going to rely heavily on you because Roxy and I have not read the book.
Yeah, and.
But we're great people, so
you
it's
are,
okay.
and great dissection. So, and I'm glad to help and bring that part of this to this dissection. The one thing that I was really amazed at, because again, reading the book and going into the movie, this is a story that relies on twists. So it would be like if you went into Psycho. Knowing that knowing when Janet Leigh is going to die, and so I knew everything that was going to happen and how it was going, when it was going to happen about. So for me, there wasn't like a shock value, but the book, it's diabolically delicious in a sense. Okay. And
like Lucky Charms.
Like Lucky, yes. And they're not diabolical. They're magically delicious.
Of course.
But
Heart, Stars, and Rainbows.
The movie.
the
movie itself. The book itself, like there were some visceral, emotional parts to the book that I felt like as I was watching the movie, it hit the.
You experienced them as one when you saw the movie.
Like,
That's
which
great.
I was surprised, and it's nice and welcome that David Fincher and the cast was able to bring that out in me.
I think that's really surprising, especially because I thought that everybody who read the book wouldn't be as shocked. It was like a I see dead people moment for me.
Well, no, as I said, I wasn't shocked at the twist, but there are elements of the book and the movie that sort of kind of make you like you don't feel this is not a story about nice people or good people for that matter.
But it sounds like you felt as satisfied watching the film, even though you knew it was going to happen, as you did when you read the book and you didn't know.
Whatever emotions I had towards certain characters.
So
watching it play out,
very faithful
I felt it was very faithful. I felt, and there wasn't a whole heck of a lot I could pick at. Now, I don't know when we'll talk about what I named the Fincher Flynn lie.
We'll talk about that shortly.
But we'll
the lie of the century.
The lie of the decade.
All right. Well, let me jump in by saying that I was a really big fan of 3/4 of this movie, and I was an unfan of about quarter.
Which quarter?
Unfan.
I was very unhappy with certain parts of it. And it kind of ruined the experience for me because there was so much of it that I really liked that when certain things just didn't work for me. And whereas in other movies, when you watch the movie and you haven't read the book, the movie actually makes you want to go read the book.
Sure, yeah.
In this case, this movie did not make me want to go read the book.
Not at all.
I'm not interested at all in seeing and reading that book. So for that part, that didn't work for me. But let's get into the Fincher Flynn.
If I can ask, I wanted to ask you, John brings up a good point, because it sometimes will happen to me if I haven't read the book prior and I see the movie, and sometimes if the movie is really good, I'll like maybe want to read the book. Did you have that feeling? Because you hadn't read the book.
No, I didn't particularly want to read the book. That's not the feeling I got, but I don't frequently get that feeling. Okay. I will admit that I am a movie, TV person. Yes, junkie. It takes a lot for me to be like, let me go read this book, especially now that this is one of those one of those stories that does rely so much on twists. I don't feel like I would be as satisfied. It wouldn't be a page turner for me because of that. I know what happened.
Sure. Okay.
So that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so let's get to the Fincher-Flynn lie.
Well, again, the Fincher-Flynn lie, I call it, because the book relies on...
Let's be alliterative. It's Fincher-Flynn fib.
Okay.
Oh,
the Fincher-Flynn fib.
That's so hard.
Classic Fincher-Flynn fib.
No, it's the Fincher-Flynn flim-flam.
Oh,
there we go.
I like that.
All right, let's move on. Let's get
okay, so, you read the book, and, it has this ending that I don't know, it made me feel dirty. When I got to the end of the book, I was just like, I
like you wanted to wash off all the blood.
I literally, I have it on like my Nook, and I shut my reader down and like pushed it away from me. I was like, oh, I'm like,
did you like it?
Did I like the ending or the book?
Yeah,
well, I was so
did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it, but the ending, like when I was done, I just sort of felt disgusted because, like, and because it's a page turner. If it is a really good page turner, it's a great mystery, it's a good crime drama, and Gillian Flynn has written great characters, right? Which I really thought translated great on screen.
The characters were amazing.
Good. It's a very character driven, and it takes you on this roller coaster. It's like, oh, I'm going to hate this person. This person sucks. Oh, that person's not so bad. That person really sucks. And it's like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah, I love the fluctuating allegiances. I thought that was terrific.
And for me, I hadn't read that in the book. And the way that Gillian Flynn just puts these pieces of a puzzle together, I thought was amazing.
But that's not what the Fincher-Flynn fib is.
The Fincher-Flynn fib is that they came out and publicly said that the ending that there was big change.
She wrote a different ending.
She wrote a different ending now.
Because she wanted to surprise viewers who had already read the book.
Exactly.
And to that point, his other adaptation, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, also they played around with the ending. And he said that they were going to play around with the ending. So it's not Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. His version has a bit of a different ending than what the Stieg Larsson novel has. So when that came out, I was like going, okay, he sort of played around with the ending. I'm curious to see. I was in for the movie to begin with.
Right.
But now I have this added curiosity. How's he going to change the ending? I want to see what they're going to do.
And what did they do?
Absolutely nothing.
Say it again.
Absolutely nothing. It was just
so talk about a red herring.
Oh my God! Because, and again, I went with two other people. We had all read the book, and we're waiting for okay,
where's the twist at the end?
And like, is he gonna kill her? Is she gonna kill him? Or are they gonna be lovey-dovey? Well, what the hell's gonna happen?
But in all fairness, that wouldn't have been true to you love because it was so close to the adaptation. If they had changed the ending, would you have loved it as much because it wouldn't have been as true to the book?
It's a good question. I was primed. Like it wasn't like
so they set
changed
you up,
the ending as a surprise. Like if you ever, I don't know if maybe you have read a book and then well, maybe you've read a book.
Hey Roxy, maybe you've read a book at some point. Maybe.
We're not
changed
sure.
the ending, or they changed the ending and you didn't know that they were changing the ending.
Yeah, that might
this
be.
was like
and
they
you're
were
outraged.
priming. Right. And you go, how the hell? No, the shark dies at the end. Like you can't live in no. So you'd be upset. And so if I'm primed, because I already know how, literally how it ends, I'm primed for an ending. So that sort of kind of softens the blow. Like they could have made a shitty ending, but at least they would have
told you ahead of time.
Told me ahead of time.
Yeah,
and that's what they were sort of kind of doing. Like not to say they were going to make a shitty ending, but I was expecting, okay, so far this movie is going beat for beat the way the book is, but I'm going to get something different at the end. And then when it didn't happen, I was like, what the hell?
Okay, but say Nick Dunne got up and walked out. Say that was the ending. He was like, peace, I'm out of here. You're crazy.
Yeah, right. And
would you have been like, oh, that's great that they changed it like that? Or would you have been like, that's a way worse ending?
No, had they done it in a thought out way, I would have been like, okay, I get the ending. And I would have gone, okay, it's a movie, it's not the book. I go, and they said they were going to make the changes. I would have been okay. Had it been, a thoughtful, smart way to end, like whatever they decided to do, which they didn't do anything. I was just like, they still end up together. She still says that she's pregnant. He ends up, because it's going to be his
a very
child.
faithful adaptation.
Very faithful adaptation. You won't, the
Fincher, Flynn,
Flim, Flam,
Fib.
Yeah, I
for sure.
So, and I'm curious to know if there were three of us. We felt the same way. I'm curious to know if other readers of the book who heard the same thing, because it wasn't like they said it once. This is
multiple
they're
times.
perpetuating this thing for okay.
So
but
God bless them, but they burned their card because now I won't believe them.
Yeah,
it was so strange because I didn't read it, but as I walked out of the theater, I heard a bunch of people talking, saying like, "Oh, I wonder what the end of the book is. It was supposed to be so different. Now I've got to go read it to see what the end of the book is." So in the reverse way, how people are going to see this because they think the ending's different, I think people are probably going to start to read the book because they think the ending is different.
I didn't have that experience at the end of the movie.
Oh, that's too bad.
No, I didn't. Here's what I had at the end of the movie. Thank God that's over.
Oh, gosh. Because you had a problem with the length.
Well, yeah. Again, I did have a problem with the length only because for a large part of the movie, I was going, why are we taking so long? Let's get this. And I'm not a fan of, I don't need quick cuts. I don't mind long movies. I actually enjoy them. I mean, they're lots of fun. But this one did not work for me in that way. I thought the pacing was slow and plodding. And it's like, why are we taking so long? That part, and also I didn't like the ending at all, and it wasn't fulfilling or satisfying in any way. I wanted it to end when she came back after killing her former boyfriend, and she's all bloody, and all the press is out there, and he says, "You fucking bitch," and she faints in his arms, and the camera goes up. We had that nice shot, aerial shot.
It would be a very dramatic
I wanted
ending.
it to end right there. I'm going, awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted it to end right, and I thought that's great because then you don't know how they resolve it. And I thought it was great that you had to figure it out yourself. And everything that happened after that, I was bored by and I didn't care about.
I see what you're saying. I do, because it did end so abruptly that it really could have ended at any point, and I think people would have been happy with it ending there. But I wouldn't have been, knowing what comes after, because this was probably my favorite part of the movie. Watching them in the shower and the interaction. It's nothing to do with the fact that they're naked, so I know that everybody's thinking. I love what happened. And then I know people think that I'm crazy, but my favorite thing is that I think the whole point is that he's still in love with her. He wants her to stay. I think a very small part has to do with the fact that she's with child and it happens to be his. I think that he is freaking in love with her still, which is unbelievable.
I think you're crazy.
But wait, even after the fact that he's had the affair and all that, and that he doesn't seem to love her at all.
I think he's in love with her now.
Like she's in love with him because when she sees him on TV.
Yes, she sees him on TV.
So that's reignited what brought them together.
She sees him on TV, and she's sitting and with Desi, and she thinks, "Wow, that's the man I fell in love with." And she comes back, and she's a crazy bitch, and he's like, "That's the one. That's the one." Yeah. Wow. He calls her. He's like, "You're a big," and he calls her the C word, and she says, "But I'm the C word you married," and he's like, "Yeah, you are." That's really how I felt. I felt like he goes to his sister's place. The sister's sitting there, and she's like crying on the floor.
He looked like a beaten man, though, at that point. No. Like, he didn't look like a man that was like, "Sis, I'm really in love."
To her point, that's also the woman who bolstered him and brought him up and made him the best he could be.
Absolutely.
So I understand your point. I don't necessarily agree with it because I don't see them being in love.
She melts down. The sister melts down on the floor. By the way, she did such an amazing job, but we'll talk about that later. She was incredible. She melts down on the floor, and she looks, and she knows her brother. They're twins. She knows him, and she says, "You want to stay with her." She says, "You want this." And he doesn't deny it because he's so weird and in love.
No, he doesn't.
And that's what it is.
All right, well, that would be
because they even make it a point in that dialogue, too. He goes, "It's going to be 18 years. She goes, you want to stay in this for 18 years.
And he wants to stay in it. He wants to stay in it for longer.
I don't think so. Well, I don't think he wants to be there, period. I thought he was like, feet don't fail me now, you fucking bitch. Like, you threw a kid at me. Because, like, really? Because, like, he just went over being... If he leaves her after knowing that she's pregnant with his child, it's like, he just got through being crucified.
Right, but that's my point. He's not
going to take that again.
See, I disagree. I think, what else could she do to him that could be worse?
Nothing.
He's already been through it all.
There's
He's been
nothing.
vilified. How bad? Look, I'm already there.
If he wanted to walk out, there are it's 2014. There are so many couples that share a child and are not together. It happens.
Yeah, but this happened in front of the media.
Yeah,
but she came back like,
so they slander him. He's been slandered.
That was my point.
It's not like somebody's going to not hire him after that.
There's only so much that you're going to take. I'm telling you, there's only
no,
so much
I agree with that.
Take.
But that's also a good point. There is only so much you can take. So no way would you stay in that relationship. I'm not putting up with this for 18 years.
So he stays because he's got to stay for a different reason than the fact that she's with child, because that's not enough for the reason to stay. Yeah, but then he could still raise the child and not be with her, but that's not what he's doing. He's staying because he loves her.
No way. No,
which makes a great argument. I had a hard time just believing the idea because
I don't buy that at all.
Whatever they have together,
because
it's
you
not
wouldn't
really,
have that feeling.
It's not what I would consider love, and maybe it works for them in some weird, twisted.
No, it's not the love that you want, but it's definitely love.
I don't know. I can't say. I mean, I guess it would depend upon your definition of love. That is just so twisted.
It's right next to hatred. Same family.
And again, like, and I had that feeling when I read the book. And that was part of the thing. It's like, motherfucker, it's like you thought he was out, and you thought that he was going to, like, it wasn't bad enough that she got mugged by those two, like, hicks. It wasn't bad enough that she was being, like, held prisoner because she had nowhere else to go and she had nowhere else to turn and whatnot. And then, she comes back and you just know that, like, they're already, like, the cops know that she lied about everything. He knows they're about to, like, nail her to the wall, and then she's woven another web and throws this other card down that says, I've just trumped you. Go ahead, because I love you. You know you love me, and now we're gonna have a kid.
I didn't buy any of it.
And he throws her against the wall, and that's love.
That scene.
That's love.
Okay, I will say, I jumped at that scene. The thud her head of that wall. I was
I'm thinking, wow, are they mic'd yet? Because that's not good. What's going to go on here? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I walked out of this. I went to see it with my best friend, and afterwards he said, I feel like that wasn't the right move. And I go, what? He goes, I don't think he should. I really feel like this wasn't the right move in that time. I was like, well, that's because you're a good human being. Right. And as we know about Nick Dunne, as he said himself, he's not a good guy. I think that's the best part. I keep saying the best part about this movie. There are a lot of great parts. One of the really, really great parts about the movie is the fact that he isn't this perfect guy. No. We are not rooting for him the whole time because he's not a good dude, but he's also not a murderer. No. And that's the point. You can't get the death penalty because you're a bad dude. You can get the death penalty because you're a murderer. I don't want to see you murdered because you're not the best guy, So I'm like kind of rooting for him. Like, you go, not such great dude. I mean,
but and his flaws though are like, and again, I'm not speaking for the whole male race, but whatever his flaw, gender, I'm sorry, yes. Like, it wasn't for the whole, like, male gender. Yes, he cheated on his wife, but you could see, again, later on, like, how he fell out of love with his wife. They didn't have the perfect marriage, which I think that this movie says that there's no such thing. There are undercurrents.
There are things a little closer than this, probably.
Yeah, or better, yeah.
Just a little.
Maybe.
And again, like, his flaws, they weren't so bad that you would sentence a man to death. So what she concocts and what she puts him through, and you also have to remember, she wasn't gonna. This was one thing that I don't think she was going to let him off the hook. She was moving away.
You thought she was going to let him off the hook?
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were saying
no.
I thought I heard you say. She
wasn't going to let him off the hook.
She was going to let him die.
Absolutely.
She wanted him to die.
Absolutely.
Which makes her psycho and makes her a killer, which is why I wasn't surprised that she ends up murdering somebody.
I didn't like that.
I wasn't surprised at that either. And again, like, Ben Ben Affleck's character Nick, he even says, I just said what I knew you wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Like you knew none of it was. And she was like, yeah, I can live with that. Yeah, I'm fine. And it's like, that makes that character even scarier.
Yeah, which is another reason why I didn't buy any of the ending. Where I thought there's no way he's staying with her. Just didn't buy it. It didn't work for me at all.
But
I thought the jump for her to be becoming a murderer was too big of a leap for me. I didn't see that. I mean, I understand obviously she's what's the word?
Crazy?
Well, she's crazy, yes, and it's getting worse and worse. Because of her first boyfriend, she does this. The second boyfriend, she gets arrested. For, it's
escalating.
It's escalating. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. But I just went. Yeah, I just didn't buy the whole. I didn't see why she killed him. I didn't see it. I was like, I didn't buy it. I just thought it was like, what?
It was the only way she could get out of that house.
I don't agree with that. I was like,
are you kidding me? I was kidnapped.
She's so meticulous at planning, and she could figure out this whole thing. Oh, she's thwarted by a lake house.
Here's the deal.
She could just walk away.
It wasn't the only way she could get out of the house.
Not if he was still alive.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. It wasn't the only way she could get out of the house, but it was the only way she could go back to Nick, was by having this alibi. And at this point, she sees him on TV. She's crazy and decides, wow, I want that life back. I want to be with that man. Right. So in order to do that, she couldn't have kept Desi alive, because Desi, even if he wasn't going to be violent with her or keep her there, he would have been like,
yeah, I get it logically. I get that's a great argument, and I agree with you. Logically, it has to happen. I understand, but for me, that was plot driven, not really character driven. I didn't see the escalation going to the point where it's one thing to get a guy arrested, but everything she does is removed from this. She's out of the equation, so it's not up close and personal. And usually when cutting somebody, killing somebody with a knife, it's that's up close. And I didn't see her character doing that stuff that would make me believe that she could go from fucking with these guys and manipulating them like crazy and just slashing some guy's throat and having the blood. I didn't believe it.
It's interesting.
Too much of a jump for me character-wise.
It's interesting you say that, though, because I felt like she was more of the I'm going to drug you kind of girl.
That's what I mean.
That's what happens.
That's what I mean.
In the book,
that's really interesting.
But she kills him.
Said.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
if they'd done something like that, don't get me wrong. I thought, the way they did it, I thought it was terrific. It was extremely. It's like, whoa.
Is beautiful the right word?
No, it's not beautiful, but it was visceral. It was amazing for film and all, and it was kind of disgusting, the whole thing. But I just go, I would have believed the drugging or something else. Yeah. I would have believed that.
It was so hands-on for her when she's had such a hands-off approach to a lot of things.
It was too big of a leap
in the book, she not only has him tied up, she does drug him, and after he's drugged, she slits his throat. So I don't know what's worse. I mean, to me,
I don't know.
Like how it was handled again on film, I thought Fincher did a great job of doing it. And all right, because we had, after watching the movie too, there was a little bit of discussion. Like, did you find that viscerally, like, she was totally into the blood, like, because she was continued to go on with the act, so to speak. Right. Did you find that that charged her up in a sense?
I couldn't pay attention because of what a bummer having Neil Patrick Harris be there was for me at that time.
All right, so let's get into why that is.
I mean, all right, so my biggest issue with this film was Neil Patrick Harris being in it, which I feel very guilty about saying because I think he is unbelievably talented and I love him. I'm a fan of his.
And he's coming in right now. He's a special guest.
Seriously, I always think I feel bad because I think he's awesome. If I ever met him, I think he's awesome. I think he's a really, really talented person. I think that he was doomed for this role. It was so the wrong role for him. He really, really was. It made me dislike this character in a way that wasn't supposed to be how I was feeling. I wanted this character to be creepy. I wanted him to be weird. I wanted him to not be Barney from How I Met Your Mother, in a suit and all put together and kind of handsome and endearing enough. And I just wanted to just shake and make him stick out his tongue or something, or do something weird or creepy with the crazy eyes.
Because I had to say, I love that what you said up the creep factor, because I didn't get it. Meaning, I understood why she, her other boyfriend, when she has him arrested for rape or whatever it is, and he pleads guilty, merely because he backed off from her, and that's how cool. I thought it was great that we got to see that scene because you got to see
awesome, and that scene
was terrific,
awesome,
and it really told us who she was, and I thought it was fabulous. I thought it was great that Nick Dunne sought him out. He was driving the film at that point, which is fabulous.
I was expecting him to come back at some point.
Exactly,
Never
and
did.
I hated the fact that they dropped that storyline. It was great that we saw this
I think
former.
the storyline served its purpose.
I didn't.
For me.
I never got to see why Neil Patrick, whatever his character's name is. Why I was like, why did she leave him? What was that about? And because I thought, okay, this guy's a little bit off, but he wasn't crazy enough, or I didn't see him being crazy enough.
He didn't still love her.
And I was like, why did she leave this? What was? And I want to know how she did, why she did, because they did such a good job with the other story. And then I couldn't see for a second why she felt trapped in the lake house. I was like, what?
The story,
just walk away.
The story is written. The story is written so that of the two ex-boyfriends, one of them's still in love with her, one of them isn't, and she burned both of them. So the one that isn't still in love with her is sane, because who would be in love with you after what you did? And the one who is still in love with her is insane. And I didn't see him being insane. I saw him being a normal dude.
See, I didn't find him normal at all. And
again, I don't think he was crazy enough for me.
Yeah, I didn't find him.
And why would you want? He's everything you want your
boyfriend to be.
Husband to be.
Yeah, see, I disagree because again, if you didn't I felt the creep factor. It's like, oh, I'm gonna take you to my lake house. Oh, by the way, security cameras in. Oh, you can't leave. I'm gonna lock you in here. Like that was creepy to me.
And again, what do you mean I lock you in here? Like what do you mean she couldn't leave?
She couldn't. Okay, again, you have to remember that back in Nick Dunne's world. Okay, he's about to go into jail and be brought up in the death because they don't know that she's still alive. Okay, there's very few people. There's only actually 2 people who know that she's alive. Actually 3 if you want to count the campsite or the Motel Hell place. Oh, so because they figure out who she is. Okay. Now, if she were to walk away, then Desi can go, hey guys, she's still alive. It blows her entire plan.
It may, but
not may.
Or they might say, oh, he's just a former guy that remember he's already been painted as a bad guy.
Who, Desi?
Desi, yeah, because because she painted him as a stalker or whatever.
Yeah.
So it could be all nonsense. They have to believe that, and then where's the evidence that she's there?
But it raises a thread. Now the other guy they can't bring in because again, you have to remember everybody thinks that she's dead and that Nick Dunne did it. Okay,
right.
Their whole thing was they couldn't use the other guy, and don't forget the other guy's life.
Who's the other guy?
The guy at the bar.
The guy at the bar.
Guy at the bar that Nick Dunne meets.
Oh, the other boyfriend.
The other boyfriend.
Okay.
So the other guy, his life is completely ruined because he's on a
sex offender list.
Sex offender list. Sure. He can't get a job. I mean, he
can't get a date. He can't get a job. Nothing. She crushed his life.
Yeah. So, and bringing him in, like, what's he going to say? He can't prove Nick Dunne's innocence. So that's the only thing that shows for the story point is that
she's done this
understand.
Before.
She's manipulated.
Right.
She's done this.
No.
They know that, and
Clearly.
that gives the Tyler Perry. That gives the lawyer at least.
I was unsatisfied by not knowing. See, it was great. I love the scene with in the bar with Nick and this former guy who gets arrested, all the other stuff with the sexual rape, whatever the hell he is. And then there's no, for me, there wasn't anything about what she did, why she left Neil Patrick's hair, and I was so fascinated by that. I couldn't wait to hear this story because she's kept in touch with him, and she's and why and I was like, it was just completely unsatisfying for me because
I agree.
It was set up to be like, this is going to be even better,
but it was so weird because we got more of the other ex-boyfriend's story, and he got way less screen time, and we got less of Neil Patrick Harris's story, and he got way more screen time, and I just kept waiting for the what's going on here,
and there was nothing to it.
And I also expected the other ex-boyfriend to maybe join the gang,
or
like
something.
Let's take this girl down. But I said, I loved this film. So to me, just this one aspect didn't kill the film for me. I just didn't like his portrayal of the character. I don't even think that's his fault. I think it was casting.
Well, for me, that didn't work. I'm sorry to jump, but this is about that. It didn't. I understand why it had to happen because you wanted to bring Neil's character back into, but I didn't buy for a second the whole thing with her at the cabin lake, whatever the hell where she is, and she meets up with the whatever name, Greta is her name, I think, the character, and they're out playing miniature golf, and then she's again thwarted by a money belt that falls off her.
I mean,
I just was like, what?
Honestly,
that's the thing that's gonna get her in trouble. And I understand logically we need to have her money taken away, so she has to go back to Neil. But it just seemed way too convenient. For me, it was completely unbelievable. This woman was amazingly
where is she supposed to keep the money?
No, I understand that she has to keep it in her money belt. Then yeah, great, they fall off. But I didn't buy it for a second that as soon as she realized they knew that money's in there and it was so important for her survival that she didn't leave right then. I did not believe for a second, because first of all, film time, we went to another scene, and by the time we came back to her, it was hours later, day later. I don't know what the hell it was, but it didn't work for me at all, because she would have been gone.
And again, I'm gonna bring up the point. All right, so let's just say, going off your supposition that as soon as that happens, they finish up their game of miniature golf, and she gets in the car and feet don't fail me now, I'm out of here. Okay, it is suggested that couple, that Greta and Jeff, sort of kind of have an idea as to who she is.
No, they really don't.
Not at that moment.
They have an idea to the fact that she's somebody.
She's somebody,
right.
but they mention it because even Greta says something when they jump her.
But I didn't believe that for a second. These doughheads are going to figure that out. I didn't buy it for a second.
I don't think you had to be. Again, I don't think you had to be.
Didn't believe it.
You didn't have to be Sherlock Holmes.
And like they would go to the cops and the cops would believe them.
Well, why wouldn't they? Because there are fingerprints. See,
what do they get out of it?
What does who get out of it?
They're already, they're not friends with the cops. It's not like they're not going to be looked at with any kind of scrutiny. Of course they are. They're not going to believe them.
All they have to do is go into the cabin where all her fingerprints and everything. She had to go back and start cleaning and getting the hell out of there.
I don't disagree with that part. Yeah. What I disagree with was film time. I just didn't buy it. It was like, oh, please, why is this taking so damn long?
Here's what I will say, though. If she is a killer, which we see that she is, if she's willing to kill, why then would she not be willing to go after these two people? You know, I would think that maybe her thought process would be, they just took my money, I'm going to go kill them.
Yeah, but there's again, she is trying to stay anonymous.
Yeah, but that's to the point. They know if you say, and they hint that they know who she is, why doesn't she kill him?
Again,
yeah, I'm just curious now because I'm thinking about...
Because there's no alibi for her.
At this point, she doesn't want to go back to Nick, though.
No, I understand, but there's nothing like she doesn't want to attract more attention to herself than she may.
Yeah, but you're making the point. These people know who I am. That could cause me huge load of trouble.
And killing them could also start a manhunt and tracking her down.
I will say that at this point, I do think she went home, realized they might have some suspicion who she is, and started cleaned the whole place, and by the time she was on her way out, she wasn't going to chill there. She was on her way out. So I'm not surprised with the amount of time that took, but what I am surprised about is that she didn't retaliate, because now I'm thinking about it, she's dangerous. They took her money, and her first thought is, oh, I'll call Desi? No, I would think her first thought would be, I'm an independent woman, and I'm going to go get my money back because I can kill them. If she is somebody who's willing to kill,
and at that point, it doesn't serve that character. It doesn't serve Amazing Amy any good because again, it could end up putting more heat on her because if she wants to get the hell out of Dodge, leaving a body. Leaving a trail of bodies isn't the way to be anonymous. It isn't the way to escape. Yes, you're killing your witnesses, but you're still setting people up to go searching for you.
For me,
because she was seen by because then she'd have to because then she would have to kill the guy behind the counter at the hotel because he saw who she was.
You guys have given me a lot to think about.
And then
I don't think for a second that the idea that they knew who she was, I didn't believe. The idea that she didn't take off right away, I didn't believe.
I did like when she spit in her soda though.
I thought it was just
funny.
For me, it came across as a convenient plot point in order to get her destitute, so she has to go call Neil Patrick Harris.
But I'm going back
come out with any kind of reality.
If she killed them, the cops get involved, right? And then,
but she's already gone.
Yeah, but she's already gone. But she has gone, girl. Yeah, she's already gone. But the people who work at the hotel have a great description of who she. I know what she looks like.
But nobody's recognized her yet, and I think it's pretty good. And you're assuming that her fingerprints are on file, which I don't believe.
Well, I'm not saying that. No.
So if they found her fingerprints, what's that going to do if her fingerprints are on file?
She has fingerprints as Amy Dunne, as Amy. Fingerprints.
Yeah, great. You get fingerprints, but where are you going to check them? If she's not in the database, and why would she be? She hasn't been arrested for anything, as far as we know. So, what big deal? They have fingerprints, but they can't match it to anything.
Okay, again, you're missing. They have the clerk behind the desk has a description. He doesn't know that it's Amy Dunne. Doesn't give it. That doesn't. You're taking that out of the. He just knows there's this.
But she doesn't look anything like Amy Dunne.
I'm not saying that he's fingering her as Amy Dunne.
Whoa, let's not use that term.
I'm saying that he's pointing. He's saying, yes, it was this blonde woman.
Right.
I don't know who she was. This is her description.
And she wasn't blonde.
Whatever she was. I'm just saying they have a description of a woman that they don't know who it is. But that means somebody's chasing her now as another identity. She doesn't need that in her life. She wants to get.
But she needs. But here's my point: is she needs her money more.
Yeah, the money ain't gonna help her get out of that.
At the time of watching at the time while I was watching it, I thought that it was great, and I still think that it's great. But I do have questions now, wondering if she is willing to kill and kill somebody that she supposedly at one point loved or had a sort of relationship with.
Why didn't she take off these people?
Then I would think, even if it wasn't murder, she would be able to somehow get her money back. Because when you are willing to do something crazier than the person who is attacking you, then you usually win.
Yeah, but again, it would have not.
Now that's like somebody
outside
who's fought
of the money,
before.
but outside of the money
and lost.
But outside of the money, it would have put more
a target on her back.
To that.
I definitely agree with that.
And that's a problem.
I see both sides.
And that's a problem.
I don't disagree with that argument. I just don't think it's for me. The bigger thing was if my whole existence of getting away and living the life is this money. I don't think she would have just let it go that easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she had a choice.
I do.
Because I really don't. So, because again,
and for me, it just didn't work for me.
And at that point,
it seemed way too
one
convenient.
of the things that two things Greta says is, A, you're luckier that we're not worse people, and B, you can make yourself look ugly all you want. Like it was sort of kind of like blackmail. Like we know you can't go to the police,
right?
Because if you go to the police, your jig is up. So no, there's no way. She was definitely left destitute. Her only course, because she knew that Desi was there. And again, I don't think she was expecting to end up in the situation that she ended up in.
Oh, of course not. She never thought she was going to see Desi.
And regardless of whether she saw Nick
We're not
on
going to
TV,
convince each other. We've made the argument, so let's move on to other problems. Because it worked for you. It was completely implausible. It didn't work for me.
But I'm just taking it the next step. Like, even if she was with Desi, okay, she realized that she was going to leave him anyways. She may not have killed him, but she was definitely going to, one way, she wasn't going to stay a prisoner. That's just not within Amazing Amy's character.
But you're now making the other point. I said, why? She's not a prisoner in the damn lake house.
I really want to hear about the box office.
Box office? Box office is really interesting. What were you?
61 million is the budget?
For its production budget. So Warner Brothers released 61 mil, which when you look at that movie and you think of a David Fincher film, I think that's actually pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, all in it was 95 million. So, and that's with, hard drives and advertising, which they advertised this movie a lot.
I thought that they advertised this movie very well. I thought the marketing campaign was awesome. I loved the trailer and what I thought this movie was going to be about. They were very secretive. What did you think it was going to be about? Well, the way that they set it up was that she was dead, and was he the murderer or not? So going into this, I thought there was a dead woman, and he was being accused of the murder. We find out in the movie that there isn't a dead woman. There's no murderer because there's no body.
Right.
So I thought that was really cool. They kept it kind of a secret what the actual plot of the film was.
Yeah, and that was another thing. It was it didn't hurt the film for me. I didn't see the trailer, so I don't know. But I didn't. As the movie rolled out, I didn't for a second think that Ben had ever killed her. I knew that. I said, okay, he hasn't killed her, great. And she's obviously set this up, so let's get to that point.
No, I remember the exact second when we saw that young woman walk in and his girlfriend. I was like, ooh.
It plays doubt.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't like, oh, he for sure did this. I was like, ooh, But it all goes to the fact that he's just not a good guy.
Yeah, and I have to say, I like, even though in my mind, for whatever reason, I knew that he hadn't killed her, it didn't ruin that part for me, because I loved the fact that they were vilifying him. It was, and you wanted to, see, we got you.
On the stake.
And then when you realize he's wrongly accused, and you're going, oh no, and then it's twisting over, and you find out how she's done it.
Right.
I loved all that stuff. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and from a marketing standpoint, I think they had. Well, I think Warner Brothers had an uphill battle, because again, it's not an easy book. It's not an easy story to stomach. It's not one that you don't want to give away any twists. It's sort of kind of heavy, and it's not about good people. So, you know, you have this movie, it's David Fincher, so you know that it's not going to necessarily be happy-go-lucky.
Oh, so you've heard of David Fincher before?
A little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's cool, because I've heard of David Fincher. Have you heard of David Fincher? Oh, that makes three of us at this table.
But I'm not Tyler Perry.
I'm not Tyler Perry.
Oh, my God.
No, but so, I mean, you know that it's not going to necessarily be happy-go-lucky. I think what they did and how they marketed it, who they marketed it to, I think they did a great job for it to have the opening, you know, that they were going to have.
Yeah.
I think they did a fantastic job. They knew their audience. And they didn't try to cheat that, too. They didn't try to go for, ooh, let's make this, like let's try to get the teen audience in here, because that wasn't going to fly. They, you know, and now the other thing that really, I think, helped them is coming a week after The Equalizer, which was a rated R movie that reached out to a bit of an older audience too. So like now you're giving the older audience something to go to. You're giving them some variety. And with the publicity that the book has had, with the publicity that you had going in with the Fincher Flynn flim flam, you know, so you're gonna grab the book readers and you're gonna grab this new audience. And then you had Ben Affleck, you had a great cast. So I think marketing-wise, Warner Brothers like knocked it out of the park. And I think it went well above anybody's expectations.
Yeah,
as far as
grosses. They said internationally 26% higher than they thought it was going to go. So that's amazing.
Its domestic opening weekend gross was like 37.5 million. Not too shabby. To date, it's about 52 million. You know, its worldwide box office is about 90 million. So,
look at them making their money back.
There you go. Yeah.
And then you got Rotten. Now, here's the interesting thing. Now, on Rotten Tomatoes, it was 87%.
91 for audience, 87 with critics.
So,
which gives it like that open star tomato look.
No right. Because usually the critics and the audience are about 20% off, 20 percentage points off.
Well, what I thought was interesting is that on CinemaScore, it only got a B.
Yeah.
Which... They relate that to
Metacritic got an 79, excuse me.
Yeah, and on CinemaScore, when you get a B, the studios sort of kind of relate. Like I was thrilled to death to get a B in school, but the studios look at that saying that the word of mouth might not be so great. Like they're always looking for A's,
of course,
A's. B's, they're like, that's interesting, and as we're talking about it, you can see. It has been polarizing. Some people have really loved the movie, and some people have not liked the movie as much, and some people have hated it.
At the end of the day, it's very different than so many things I have seen recently. It's just got a very different story that it's trying to tell, which is why I really liked it. I've seen a lot of the same. You were just comparing this just because of when they come out to Equalizer. We covered Equalizer here. I thought Equalizer was fun. I liked it. This is a way more up my alley kind of movie, and I enjoyed this movie so much more. I think that
there's so much more
got a story.
To deal with.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful, because you're dealing with the facade we put onto the world and to each other, especially if you're in a relationship. You're dealing with the media and what it can do to people and what their agendas.
Which is something I almost felt like when I was watching this. I was watching the news for a while. You know, when you're watching something and you think that a guy maybe killed his wife, and you're like, oh, that asshole.
Right.
First you're like, oh my God, that poor man. Then you're like, oh, that asshole. And then you're like,
wait a minute.
Wait, what's going on? So I felt like I was maybe watching a news story which was really cool. And it does happen. It happens in real life all of the time. We were kind of the jury here. You know, he was on trial, and that was a really cool aspect for me. And it did something different than a lot of movies do. So you have to appreciate the fact that it was out of the box. Period. You know,
it flips gears in a way that. You know, I know as I was reading the book, it flipped gears for me, and I knew what the twist was. I have to assume, you know, you can tell me differently. I don't want to speak for you, but it flips gears in a way that, like, the person that you felt bad for was Amazing Amy, because here she could be dead, floating in the, you know.
And because she wrote this diary, and she thought her husband was going to kill her.
And
I didn't have that feeling.
When things switch, really, so you didn't.
Well, no, again, I said
did you know
I didn't for a second think that he killed her. I knew she was in these. In my mind, I'm going, no, she's alive, and she's planned this. So I didn't have that. But I still loved it when they cut to her and we got to see everything she did and how she did it. I thought that was amazing.
No, I totally played right into it. At first, I thought she was dead and he didn't do it. Then I thought she was dead and he did do it. Then I saw she was alive, so nobody did it. You know, I'm assuming that's what they wanted to happen. They wanted little old me to sit there and think that. So
and I thought, that's great.
Yeah.
Like you said, we don't usually see those, and every once in a while, these come along and we go, oh, nice.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I think that really helped for this movie, and we were talking about it earlier, I think performances.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not on the I hate Ben Affleck bandwagon. Yes, he's made some crappy movies. Who doesn't? And especially in a career that
it's not always the actor.
Right.
That's the reason. But
absolutely. Now the one that I was really, the one that I loved, and I've been becoming a fan of hers just more and more since Reacher. The Tom Cruise movie is this Rosamund Pike. She was in Reacher. She was in At the World's End, which I loved her. And in this movie, man, like if it's
a great role for her.
It's a great role for her, and I think it's without having seen some other movies at this point, I think nominatable. I think she was really, really solid.
I think this is a career-changing role for her. I think she was. I would go so far beyond solid. I think she was great. I think she knocked it out of the park. The scene that sticks out to me the most is when she does come back with the blood all over her, and then she ends up in the hospital, and she's telling her story. She reminded me of Roxy Hart. I just loved this moment. I thought she nailed it. I definitely think she should be nominated.
Can I go back to the part where I was being held captive?
That was my favorite thing, because this cop's not believing her. She says, "Now can I go back to this?"
Exactly. She wants to don't interrupt my story.
And it was the look that she gave the cop. Don't.
And the look she was giving her husband too. She's looking at Nick and he waves. I thought she effing nailed it. I thought she was awesome. And going back to Ben Affleck, I thought he did a really good job. I know you said this off air, John, but I do agree that he kind of is a little aloof. He's a little.
Sometimes, and there's characters. There's an aloofness
he
about
underplays,
and I think it worked extremely well here, because you weren't sure. It's like, well, who is he? And he's kind of so removed, which was the character, obviously.
And that's what too, like his aloofness too, is some of the thing that brought up the ire of a lot of people, like including the media. They're like going, look at him. He's like smiling.
So
and
that
like,
really works.
Taking pictures with girls and smiling, whatever it is.
Just trying to be polite.
I'm not on the I don't like Ben Affleck train. I really like Ben Affleck. I mean, it starts because Good Will Hunting is my favorite movie of all time, and ends with the fact that he's a boss in the town, everything, whatever. I love Ben Affleck. I thought that he was a really, really good fit for this role. I thought he did a great job. I don't think it's Oscar nominee worthy, because I just don't think it was as big of a role opportunity.
But he didn't have as much to work with. And his arc, you didn't really,
exactly
get to really go to the depths, so to speak.
But who I do think did equally as amazing job as all these other big players is his sister,
Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris. So the girl who played Margot Dunn, Carrie Coon, who comes over from, I mean, she's been in a bunch of things, but she comes over from The Leftovers, which is an HBO series that is a summer series that just went on this past year. That is my favorite show on television currently. I thought that she's amazing in that show. She was awesome in this movie. Such a different role for her from that. I thought she nailed it too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed her.
I liked her. And she's great because she is, in a sense, she's the voice of reason.
Well, she's kind of us. We don't know.
But she's the voice of reason, but she's going to support, regardless, and she even says so, and you believe it, that she's going to support her brother, her twin, regardless.
Every once in a while, it just got me confused every time he'd say go. You'd call her go. It's like, why that? And then, but it took
Margot,
like, how did he say? What? That makes no sense.
It was weird. I love the sibling bond here. I thought it really worked. I've actually watched a bunch of interviews of the two of them together now, and they seem to have that, like, sibling rivalry relationship on camera always. So I thought that was really great casting, too. I thought that everybody other than NPH did a great job.
I have to say about that part, and because going back to Neil Patrick Harris, for me it was that it wasn't written enough for him. It wasn't crazy enough.
That's what I was saying. It's not his fault, because I thought he was doomed from the start. And the big surprise for me was, oh my, Tyler Perry. What happened there? He killed it. He was great. He was an awesome awesome addition to this film. I was never expecting that. Ever. I mean, no, yes.
No,
I'm not.
I wasn't
I'm
as
not,
surprised by it
I'm not
because I've
so
seen him
over the
do a
moon.
couple of things where I go, yeah. So, but I thought he served the piece very well.
Yeah.
I thought he was great. I wasn't expecting to like him so much. Elvis is here.
I thought it was well cast and well acted for sure.
But I was thinking too, like Lawrence Fishburne could have really played that role really well.
What did they say? Alec Baldwin, I think, is what they said that the role was supposed to be
he might
like.
have been more
something.
like the.
No, well, if we can get into what who they considered for roles, that might be fun.
And I had no problem with Tyler Perry. I'm just not as over the moon. With him. I mean, he was fine.
I'm blanking on her name. The cop. I thought she was great.
Oh, the cop was great.
Oh, Detective
too.
Rhonda Boney, who's Kim Dickens, who comes over. She's been in a million things, but I know her most from Sons of Anarchy, where she plays like the lead prostitute kind of woman. So this was a very different role for her. I thought she did a great job, and I thought her sidekick did a great job.
Yeah, Patrick Fugit.
I thought that was great.
And again, Patrick Fugit, I'm like going, God, you've come a long way since Almost Famous.
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow. No, I really liked the cast. I don't have the Neil Patrick Harris problem. I thought everybody.
That's isolated to Roxy, but that's okay.
But
I honestly,
I don't know. It might not be. I mean,
on this panel.
Yeah.
And I think that again, performance-wise, okay, for a movie like this, you really need the solid performances, I think, for it to work on all cylinders. Now, is this a best picture? Is this a best picture category kind of film? Maybe not, but. Right now, like I said, I'd put it in my top 10. I think Fincher's direction was spot on. However, I will say this. I think I would give it... I think I liked Girl with the Dragon Tattoo a little bit better, but not by much. This is definitely going to be worth a second and or a third viewing. I'll get it on like Blu-ray and such. I really think that the performances were where they needed to be for it to work. You needed a strong actress to carry off that Amy Dunne character, because if she went way over the line, then it's caricature. She was awesome.
Let's talk about who she could have been if she wasn't who she was.
You mean
Rosamund Pike?
Yes.
Right.
So here were the people that were thrown out there. Charlize Theron, who I thought would have done an awesome job.
Yeah, I think she could have done it equally as good.
She would have done a monster of a job.
So there are people like that. But then on this list was Julianne Hough, which had me scratching my head and rolling my eyes. What? I mean, what?
Well, she was available.
I don't know. I thought that the weirdest on this list of the people I heard was that Olivia Wilde. I thought was kind of weird. I don't think Emily Blunt would have done the best job with it, but I do think on this.
Seen Emily Blunt. Actually.
You could have.
I could have seen her.
Charlize Theron, Natalie Portman, Rooney Mara. I think that they all would have done a great job, but I think that the best person for the job got the job.
And it was interesting because I don't know that. If you had
and
told
you're missing
me
one person,
if I hadn't
Reese Witherspoon.
Reese Witherspoon, of course, she developed it for crying.
I don't think she would have done as good of a job.
What was it? Because if you didn't know who had done it or hadn't seen the movie and you saw the list of people who were being considered for it, I don't know that Rosamund Pike would be the one I'd go, that's
true.
So for that reason, I think, wow, amazing for her. Congratulations to her, because
I think it's a career-changing movie.
I do too. I agree. I
agree.
Too. And I don't even necessarily. I thought she did an amazing job with what she was given. I'm not even a big fan of what she was given to play. So,
well, that's
okay. Then
great job.
No, I thought she did. Again, for me, I think at this point in time, where we are in the year, I think nominatable. I mean, I thought
because she got to play so many different sides to a character.
Do you think that should be the only nomination of this film?
For me, yeah, I mean, cinematography I thought was great. Editing, David Fincher, I believe, will get his day. I mean, I just don't think, just seeing what our lineup is, if we don't come out with many things that are better, but I think there's going to be, I think the movie is going to face some very stiff competition. I wouldn't throw it out just yet. You got to see what's coming up, but we've got now until December. There's a lot of movies. I think that this movie is a great way to kick off I think it's a great way to start talking about the Academy and talking about Best Actress. And I think we've got other movies that are coming out very soon now to get into that fray. But we'll see what competition it faces.
As I was watching it, and even as we're discussing it now, it never even entered my idea that it would be
even Rosamund. Well, how about Rosamund Pike?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Because of the breadth and the of what she got to play and all the different sides of that, which was great, and because it was such a surprise in the sense that I didn't know, I hadn't seen this,
and it doesn't take anything away from me. Like, even if I don't find that this may not be like Best Picture quality, it's still like, I mean, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo wasn't like Best Picture quality for me, but I loved it. And I really like this movie a lot too.
I don't know if I said it earlier, but I thought it was an extremely well crafted movie. The way it was all put together. I was not as much of a fan as the pacing of it. I don't know if we talked about that or if I'm remembering that from an echo. I didn't like. I mean, the editing was fine except for that part of it. Again, for me, it was 30 minutes too long. I didn't need it. Half the stuff that I was seeing when. Just go on forever. Then I had all these fades to black, and I'm going, what? I felt like I was actually reading the thing. I remember in the movie, I'm going, why is this taking so long? I'm actually looking at my watch.
I didn't have the same problem. I didn't have an issue with the length. But Demetri, your question to me was, how did I feel about?
Well, my question was, as far as our nomination, like, category, do you feel that it's nomination worthy?
I think she was nomination worthy. I think that she was. I think
How
that
about the movie itself?
I thought that the movie probably isn't, although I do think that we shouldn't. It's so hard because I still think, 5 movies a year is this top 5, but we've opened it up to 10. So it's like, now I think a lot of things that aren't nomination worthy are nominated. If this got nominated, would I be like, oh my God, I never would have seen that coming? No, absolutely not. But
are you kidding me?
No, absolutely not. I think it is a very good movie. I think it did the best job telling this story it could have done. This wasn't my favorite story I've ever heard. I really liked it, but it wasn't my absolute favorite. But I think that they told it very, very well. So do I think that it could be nominated? Maybe. I probably think it won't, though.
One thing I did forget, the other possibility could be adapted screenplay.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I was thinking about that.
I wouldn't agree with, but
it could go.
But not because it wasn't written. I just didn't like well, it's hard to say because obviously it's her story. She adapted it well. It's her own story.
Yeah.
It's just that too much of it for me didn't work, and too much of it was inconsistent, and. But there was much of it that I did really like.
And it's interesting too because you talk about length. We talk about we've talked about whether we like the length or not. I thought the pacing was fine. It's funny in interviews with Kirk Baxter, the editor, and also seeing like if ever you have a David Fincher like Blu-ray, if you have like the Criterion of like The Game, or even Seven, or even if you have Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and you get behind the filmmaking process with him, he is a very meticulous director who takes his time in ensuring.
Takes his time getting the film. Takes his time editing it. And he doesn't mind taking his time watching it.
And he gives his editor one of the things that the editors love. Yeah, he gives his editor coverage. I mean, apparently it's rumored that this movie had 500 hours of footage. 500. So to will it down to 2 hours and 40 minutes, that's
exactly. And I mean,
220, I should say.
We could have had a 100-hour movie. How'd you felt then?
Exactly. And I don't know what the quote average rate is, but. That seems excessive. And 50 takes, but roughly again, 50 takes on a
50 to 60 takes, and he takes multiple scenes, so he gives plenty of coverage, and they're able to, I would say that being an editor of one of his movies has to be like, you have to have patience and you have to be a puzzle solver. Because like, what if if my cup is placed here and I'm like, well, let's try this. Well, you know what? Maybe if it's like this over here, and then the
continuity between it all,
and then the editor's got to like go, okay, I'm gonna take this shot. But I do appreciate Fincher. Number one, there's a color scheme to his movies, and they're all usually pretty. There's a
subdued.
It's like. I call it the Cameron blue. Like James Cameron films with this kind of a blue. No, whether it's in an Avatar or a Terminator movie. Watch
J.J.
Aliens.
Abrams flare.
Yeah, he's got the lens flare. Fincher has his color palette as well. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Seven, Fight Club. They all have this very similar thing, and I love the way his movies look. In this particular movie, Gone Girl, it really captured this moody, creepy kind of tone, and then when you throw in the soundtrack too, which also it doesn't over punctuate, but man, it just sets in the moodiness of what's going on. It's I really like the way he puts together a movie.
I can see why.
Yeah,
I agree. I thought that it looked great. I liked the way it looked. I liked the way it sounded, which I'm sure we'll talk about. I thought it was a really, really good job.
Yeah.
I like the house. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of the look of it, but it was fine. But I like the house that it was so. Again, all a facade. It was just kind of like this house that you'd see,
which
almost
house?
like their house. Their house was almost
like a white picket fence type house.
Well, not only a white picket fence, but it was almost like a commercial grade house, which was supposed to have the facade of it being an amazing house, but there really wasn't much in it. Yeah. Kind of like they are. There's nothing. There's not a lot of depth there. Right. So for those parts,
that's why they're in love.
Exactly. So that I
coming back to it.
But going back to the music, they were talking about how it's widely reported that Fincher was in an office or a chiropractor office or something like that and heard some music that was supposed to make him calm, but it didn't have the exact opposite effect and that's what he wanted Reznor to do and stuff like that. And I actually don't remember the music having too much of an effect on me, but it doesn't often. So what did you guys think of the music in terms
Don't feel the reaper.
But I'm talking about the score of it. So
I
know. It's really interesting. Because
I didn't really feel unsettled. It wasn't like the music, and I didn't get the feeling. I more often than not was just like, can we move this along? so I didn't get the feeling like, oh my God, I'm unsettled.
No, I definitely did. It clearly worked better on me because I was sitting there like, oh, did he not? You know, and a lot of that has to do with sound and feeling kind of anxious for him, for me, not knowing if something's going to jump out. So I thought that it did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it wasn't anything like, this wasn't that it was manipulating us to feel unsettled. I mean, we have a story that's pretty unsettling, I think, to begin with. This music, and again, to me, it was very, very similar to the music of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And if you listen to the same scores, by the way, which
Nine Inch Nails, people,
which was very different from
Who's the other guy?
Atticus Ross.
Thank you.
And it's clearly like you can put it on as background music, and I have the scores, but then if you listen to Social Network, it's a completely different. It's a different score to set a different mood, and I think
as it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Gone Girl, I really think again, there's nothing really. There's nothing bombastic about it. It's not symphonic, so to speak. Like, it's not a John Williams score. But then again, it doesn't play it doesn't have screeching violins in it either to set up tension as they're going through it, I think it's the fact that it's sort of underplayed helps raise that level of disparity.
Right. I can't say I noticed it the whole time, which is good, I think.
I usually think that.
If something
I don't really want to notice the music all the time. I want it to affect me, but I don't want to really.
Except for that score.
Yeah. This one didn't. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if there's any other song that I remember from the movie except for that.
Yeah, it's the one. It's the one. We opened with it.
Don't fear the
Hopefully you guys will let us close with it.
I always just relate that to Halloween and Will Ferrell. Saturday Night Live, Christopher Walken sketch.
Oh, of course. Yes.
But I thought the score was good. One little note of trivia: David Fincher helped a directing buddy out.
Oh, yes, please.
His good friend Steven Soderbergh, who I had no idea, but apparently
you had no idea he was good friends with him, or you had?
I had no idea that he was a good director. No, I'm kidding. I had no idea that Steven Soderbergh is an importer-exporter of liquor. Something called...
I like him even better.
Singani, S-I-N-G-A-N-I.
So now we're doing product placement.
So now we're doing product placement for Steven Soderbergh.
Good luck, Steven Soderbergh's vodka line.
He's like, he goes, hey, you have this? I'll put it in
the movie. Bring it out. That's fine. Yeah, just go ahead. Bring it out right on the table.
And he's like, hey, one of your characters has a bar. Wow, it'd be so great to see that. And so we see Ben Affleck, but I think that's sort of kind of cool. Yeah. I didn't know it going in, and now when I go to see the movie again,
now you know.
Yeah, and apparently it's it's supposed to be very expensive liquor.
So what did you guys think of something that we haven't addressed that is very off topic, but I just thought that I would mention it because it's been a big deal, and honestly to me it was not even noticeable, about the fact that we got full nudity. I mean, I didn't care. Did anybody even think about it? I mean, I honestly didn't even really pay attention to it.
No, I didn't.
people have been asking Ben Affleck about it a lot, like a lot, and it was his first time being fully nude. I didn't even notice.
Jennifer
really.
Gardner commented on it actually, and what she said was, "Thank you." Yeah. So I mean, I personally, I didn't.
That's my girl.
Yeah, I don't.
I figured she was the voice for. I don't know.
You know, it was like
whatever.
You know, full. It was so brief.
Yeah.
Pardon the.
Yeah.
Now, well, the one thing, well,
that was like,
another major thing that I've read about is that did either of you find this movie to be misogynistic and feminine, you know, and anti-feminist?
Anti-feminist? No,
I didn't. In this movie, because that's
another. I thought it was a strong female character.
It's one woman. She's not speaking for the entire gender.
And we also had a female cop, and I don't find it. I don't even really understand that.
Know, I'm very happy that you brought that up because there was a great article in Forbes that says that this movie is about, you know, it's really a feministic approach. It goes, when you look at how many female characters are in this movie and how each of their characters, whether you agree with them or not, have their opinions and are able to voice their opinions in somewhat of an intellectual way.
Not to mention that it's a woman writer. So how could
I can understand one point of view, because when we hear her in her dialogue, when she's talking about, when she's driving on the road, she's talking about, here's how, this is what women do.
I know I don't. So what the hell?
I know, but my point is, if that's all you took from it, and you go, well, see, because this is how. But that's one person's view of what women do.
If a man says this is what men do, I don't know.
So I didn't, you know, if you were only going to take that context, then okay, I can. But that's not what the movie is.
Well, I'm gonna quote Miss Flynn, because she, I think, actually said something really cool, and this was in an interview with The Guardian that I had read, and she was questioned whether feminism is really only girl power and you go girl and empower yourself and be the best you can.
You go girlfriend.
She's like, for me, it's the ability to have women who are bad characters. They can be bad too. Why don't you can have a female villain? One thing that really frustrates me is the idea that women are innately good, innately nurturing. In literature, they can be dismissively bad, trampy, vampy, bitchy types, but there's still a big pushback against the idea that women can just be pragmatically evil, bad, and selfish.
Yeah, I don't get this argument, because I don't think an author should take the responsibility of saying, I'm going to have my main character speak for everybody of that particular ilk.
No way.
I think that's ridiculous.
For somebody to put that on another person is very unfair.
No, it's ridiculous.
I thought that it was... I enjoyed the women characters in this. I thought there was 3 main women characters, because I'm not counting the mom, because she had a very small role to me. And I thought that they were all very different. We had the sister who took care of her brother. We had the cop who had an unconditional love, a wife who had completely conditional love, right? And then we had a cop who was completely pragmatic in a totally different way. So I thought that they were all shown very different. The question was, do I agree with that? No, I completely disagree. Yeah. And I'm a woman, in case you can't tell by my voice. Whoa.
Well, it has actually been one of the main criticisms of the movie. They think it's misogynistic because she's... why is it misogynistic?
I feel as if every single movie that has strong female characters is considered misogynistic these days, or any minority for that matter. Any movie that has like very strong black characters, people are saying, is it? Do people paint this in one way or the other? You know, unless you are a all white male cast, then there's going to be controversy around something. There's going to be controversy about that. Why don't you why'd you do that? Yeah, and now in 2014, of course,
Yeah, well, but I also think, though, too, there has been a history lately, and there has been, I mean, when you look at Hermione, you know, she just gave this great speech about, you know, women in Hollywood. Like, there's been this push to make women smart. Emma Watson, thank you very much. There's been a push, and a lot of Gina Davis is another one. Not enough good roles out there for women. Yeah,
but this is a great role.
I think that's true that there aren't, but this happens to be a movie that has great ones.
That has great roles for women, and they don't get caught in the Smurfette syndrome, where they're the only women. The Smurfette syndrome is an actual syndrome that says that you have one woman who's surrounded by a bunch of guys, and the males will dictate what's going on, and doesn't factor from that. And these aren't necessarily women. Again, all the women that are in Gone Girl, they're not. Their lives aren't predicated on the man that they're with.
This just wasn't that. I have a really hard time.
I don't know. Maybe Amy's is the case.
Yeah, I guess.
But I don't think it's misogynistic.
We really didn't talk about. I know we don't have that much time left, but also just bringing in the amazing Amy aspect of it all. What did you guys think about that?
Well, again, that played a major factor in the book as well, and knowing that she was pressured. And knowing that amazing
she could never
Amy,
measure up.
She could never measure up, and she never got all the great things that amazing Amy did get, even though this character was supposed to be heavily based on their daughter. There's really not. I didn't find the parents likable in the book, and they aren't likable in the movie as well. And again, they're predicated on their success and trying to go back into what was she? They went to a party where they were doing an anniversary of Amazing Amy, and they were like, "Come on, this is gonna bring me back into the limelight again." And they were New York socialites that lived a certain kind of lifestyle. I also like how Gone Girl also talks about how the economy affects. Things were going okay for Amy and Nick, but then unfortunately Nick
could have lived a very happy, normal life.
And, with sugar,
had the economy not gone to
shit. Economy not gone to shit. And the mother didn't have her cancer, and they had to go back to Memphis, I believe.
I don't buy it.
So
I don't know.
I think it would have gone. I don't buy that. That's why the relationship. I think that you are either you're either the kind of person who's capable of something or not. And clearly, Amy is capable of murder and of trying to get her husband the death penalty. So, regardless of what the catalyst was for that, it would have been something at some point.
Yeah, but
she didn't like the color cat he picked.
No, I know, but things obviously, and again, and it's brought up, and again, it is a difference in the book, and that he didn't mind that it wasn't in the movie. But they bring up the economy a lot because that mall they go into.
That mall.
Remember the mall where they found that guy who said, "Oh yeah, I know her. She was looking for a gun."
Oh, right. The down under. I didn't even know. I didn't even realize that was a mall.
Yeah, no, that was a mall in
it
the
just looked
story.
like a gang zone.
No, it's a mall.
Subway.
And in the book, anyways, this mall was supposed to bring this little town in Memphis. It was supposed to bring it back to life, and it did.
Memphis?
Isn't it Memphis?
Missouri.
Missouri.
It was supposed to bring what back to what?
The town.
Yeah, it's supposed to bring in.
It was supposed to bring business. It was supposed to bring this little town back to life, and it did for a little bit, and then the economy tanked, and then the mall died. People lost their jobs, and they didn't destroy the mall, so it just is left there for the transients to go and as a constant reminder of all the people who lost their. So the mall itself sort of kind of plays that part. That and again, not that I missed it in the movie, and I understand for taking it out. The father had a little bit of a bigger piece in the book as well, but again, not that they trimmed it down somewhat. I didn't miss that at all.
Some of that was missing for me just because, I get that, she can never measure up to Amazing Amy, so she's insecure in that way, and
so let's just go kill people.
It's some of that of who she was and how she became what she became was missing for me. Is kind of, and that's why I felt it was inconsistent.
Well, I heard that we heard more about this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in the books about the whole concept of the cool girl and him always wanting the cool girl, the cool girl. So we saw a little in the movie of her trying to be that, but I heard in the book it was really driven into that he wanted the cool girl.
But it wasn't just cool girl; it was the cool couple. They two were cool. She was the cool girl. She wasn't going to be the woman that gets jealous if Nick goes out. She was the cool girl. She was the people that talked about. But they were, in a sense, too, the cool couple that people would look up to because they had such a happy and loving relationship. So
and they still do.
Now another piece of trivia too, and I'm going to change the mood here. Another thing, kudos Ben Affleck in the movie while they were filming. There is a scene where he's in an airport. He was asked to wear a Yankees hat.
I know.
And Mr. Affleck said, "David, I love you." He's like,
"I'm not gonna do it.
I can't do it." He goes, "You have no idea what that's gonna bring. What pain
that'll
bring to me if I do
they
that."
Settled on
here's
the
thing,
I'm
going. Can you imagine? Because you're an actor. It's the character wearing it. I'm not wearing it, but no. I'm gonna get so much crap for this. I can't do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
I love that. That's
So,
my boy.
Luckily, New York has two teams.
Yeah.
And they give them the Mets, and that's fine. I
Red
just think
Sox
that's
Nation.
very, very funny. 26 games
I
back
thought
out.
it was ridiculous,
this
but
past
okay.
season.
Yeah. All right. I thought it was funny.
But,
It was
yeah, I
ridiculous.
think that it's
can't.
great.
Sorry. No, I do it. I mean, it's right for the character, but I just can't do it.
I just can't do it.
I can do the nudity, but I can't wear the New York Yankee hat.
Nobody from Boston's going to complain about the nudity.
No. Oh, really?
So, and then regarding the killer smile, like the Ben Affleck, that was the scene that took apparently the most we did was 60 takes.
The killer smile?
The killer smile.
Remind me, help me out. 'Cause I don't know
He
the
was
killer
supposed to do like this killer smile.
Oh, it was for the poster?
Not for I don't know if it was for a photo shoot. I think it was for going into an interview, or he had to have like a certain smile. And 60 takes. And it's,
did we see this in the movie? I don't remember him practicing a specific
he wasn't
smile.
practicing, but they took 60 takes.
Oh, okay, got it.
And he had to get this particular smile for this one scene done. And yeah, he was like, he goes, David and I were in sync. It would take 7 or 8 takes. We've gotten into the groove. There was a scene walking along the beach with my mother-in-law.
Yeah, I saw it.
Everything was supposed to be in concert. We shot it 45 times one day, 36 times the next day. That's insane.
I love perfectionists.
Patience. Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, gotta love it.
I mean, congratulations. I mean,
I love the
success, but I just think that's ridiculous.
I love the trivia.
That's a lot. You know, but
Such a waste
and
of
again,
money.
like I'm looking forward to the Blu-ray because it'll go into a lot of this, a lot more. So, and plus like Fincher's appreciation for film, and I'm not talking like actual celluloid, I'm just talking about his film history and how he directly, whether you say lifts or pays homage to, he's not so bad as Brian De Palma when it comes to Alfred Hitchcock, okay? And I love Brian De Palma as well, but the way that he does go with the character and what made Hitchcock, I find this movie actually to be very Hitchcockian, where things are not exactly what they seem at all. He really does go in the dark underside belly of marriage. Things are not, and then he switches, he gives a twist, and they're all, in a sense, humanistic people. And that's where what makes Hitchcock great is that he put real humanistic characters who had their flaws, and he puts them in these like bizarre.
I'm gonna say these were people a little more than flawed, but still in love.
Yeah.
And on that note, friends.
All right, that's a good place to end it. All right, last thoughts.
No, overall, I did get nitpicky during this podcast, but I really did enjoy this film. I thought that the story was interesting, kept me on my toes, and I liked it a lot.
Go ahead, Demetri.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan. There really wasn't too much for me to be nitpicking on. I thought it was a really faithful adaptation for you book readers out there. I think you'll like it too. And if you have read the book and saw the movie, let us know what you thought. I thought as an adaptation, it was one of the most faithful adaptations that you can have. It didn't disappoint outside of the Fincher Flynn flim flam. I thought it was really well done, and kudos.
And I guess I'm in the minority because as much as I liked it, I had my own issues with it. And I don't know that I would be telling people, you go. It's amazing, because it was,
We're everywhere on the spectrum and in between.
Yeah,
that's what makes talking about movies so much fun.
All right, let them know where they can find you, Roxy.
You guys can find me everywhere at Roxy Striar.
And you can find me at DMovies1701.
You can't find me anywhere but here. So thanks very much for listening to another Anatomy of a Movie. We'll talk to you next time.
We found you.
Where's Fear the Reaper?
Yeah.
Fear the Reaper.
Let's bump it.
Let's go out on that.
Well,
all right. Well,
we'll save it for Halloween.
And that was a bust.
And on that note,
I guess we feared the Reaper too much.
They
And
couldn't
good night,
find
everyone.
Cowbell.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the rest of the Anatomy of a Movie staff, we would like to thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email or tweet us. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been Anatomy of a Movie.